Welcome to the Security by Default podcast, the podcast where firewalls are hot, passwords are long and strong, and cybercriminals are probably listening to. I'm your host, Joseph Carson, ethical hacker, security nerd, and the guy who reads the terms and conditions so you don't have to. Each episode will break down the weird, wild world of cybersecurity, minus the jargon, and plus a few laughs. Whether you're pro or just here to figure out what the hell zero trust really means, you're in the right place. Let's get secure and have a little fun on the way too. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Security by Default podcast. The podcast here to really bring clarity to the chaos of security and also make sure that everyone has the opportunity to getting security in the organizations. And I always love bringing back amazing guests and having really hot topics and trends of what's happening in the world. I'm the host of the show, Joe Carson. I'm the Chief Security Evangelist at Segura. And it's a pleasure to be here with more fun, interesting discussions. And I'm actually joined back again by an awesome guest who's returning for the second time in the podcast. So we'll welcome back Filipi. If you give maybe the audience, maybe those who are new, a little bit of background about yourself and what you do and what you've been up to recently as well. You've been quite busy.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Again, we are here once again.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Joy, for having me here. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you. So I'm Filipi Pires, basically. So I'm head of identity threat labs here at Segura. I'm responsible for my main role at the company is to make investigations about threats. So basically doing more analysis, the new exploitations or that happen in different companies or trying to find some vulnerabilities in different perspective of identity, of course. And this is the main role. And the second sub-role, let's say, is based on this content, I can share this in different type of audience. As you said, so I was participating in quite events last few weeks and authenticating in San Diego. Actually, it's not exactly in San Diego, it was in Carlsbad, very close. Participating in some roundtables, discussing about the different topics about identity. And 2 days ago, basically, I was speaking actually at BSides Brasilia. And I was presenting one of my last research about the attack that happened using PDF malicious and was very cool.
Fantastic. For the audience, I think, you just give the audience a bit of a kind of insights into what BSides is. Because I know, you speak at a lot of BSides, went to lots and did lots of speaking to BSides and participating. Just for the audience, some are maybe new to the industry, some have been going to the traditional type events. Maybe just give a recap or a bit of kind of insights of what BSides, what it is and who typically attends.
Yeah, very quick information about BSides. Actually, BSides started more than 20 years ago in the US. And actually, in the beginning, we had basically the two main events we call it DEF CON and Black Hat. So the people received many, mainly in DEF CON, they received many call for papers, like a bunch of 1,000 talks. And they didn't have a slot for all those speakers. So basically, the community in US decided to create this new, in double quotes, they called BSides 20 years ago, actually. And they decided to create this BSides. So do you remember the old people? They remember the disc or that they use in to listen music, actually. So the other side of the let's say is like the outside, the BSides. So basically, because of that, they created this name. This is the history behind of the name. And they created this 20 years ago. So they started in US and in Las Vegas. And after that, they decided to put in BSides in other states in US, like, for example, San Francisco and other states. And of course, they decided to spread the message using BSides in the world and around actually the world. And based on that, we have more than 1,000 BSides. This was big brand. And basically, the idea of the event is focused on cybersecurity, hacking culture. And they bring actually in the different events, they bring new speakers and the others known speakers. Mainly when they invite let's say the bigger speakers is usually to be the keynote speakers. And actually this keynote speaker is invited to talk and you to work in the openings. And of course they open the call for papers for the whole GM actually. So usually BSides has a committee responsible for evaluating these talks and they created these different activities, main track or 2 or 3 simultaneously track. And sometimes they have a village and it's a very, very nice to participate in this kind of conference. And because it's opportunity to know more about this culture behind of the cybersecurity, about the hacking, offensive security, defensive security, identity security, whatever, many things about cybersecurity, actually. So it's a very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jack Daniels was kind of behind the original Las Vegas one. And I absolutely.
Yeah, they keep in, actually, he keep in participating the leadership, actually, when you decide to create specifically, for example, BSides in your city or your state. You just submit to the info at the bsides.org, if I'm not wrong. So usually the Jack came to you and discuss to you about what is BSides, what is the culture behind of BSides, what kind of things you need to organize your proper BSides, and what is the, let's say, the mandatory things that you need to create as BSides. But he's responsible for that.
Yeah, he's awesome. It's a shame that he's kind of not as involved these days, but it's great that he's still involved in BSides. And I think it's also great for the audience. If you're thinking of some conferences are typically out of reach, price wise or location wise. Maybe it's to travel to. And I think the BSides is a great way to find local events that are more affordable as well. And if you're kind of interested in getting into the speaking kind of area, the BSides is also a great place to start off with, and there's lots of people, mentors that kind of get involved as well to help, noob speakers get in the process. Thanks for the providing the overview. I think it's great for the audience who may not be familiar with BSides. So back to the main theme of today's episode is all around the latest identity threats and some of the hot trends that you've seen and some of what's the hot topics that's been discussed at the events and conferences that you've been around the world. So in the identity threat labs and the research you're doing, what are some of the hot trends you're seeing around identity compromise? What's the attackers using as the most common methods to gain access to credentials or to privileged accounts and so forth, or machine identities?
Yeah, sure. Actually, when you think about the attacker perspective, I think if you see in the last few big attacks, actually, in the past, the attackers trying to get more, let's say, the zero days to get inside of the companies. But it's not, let's say, in the past was sustainable, but nowadays it's not too sustainable because you need to be more, let's say, stealth the attack when you are doing the attack. And so nowadays, the things that I'm seeing in the market, mainly in the cyber criminal perspective, let's say, is, as you said, is about, let's say, the machine identity in terms of secrets, tokens, keys. Because so if we see in the last previous attacks, so I'm just, let's say, mention two big attacks in Brazil focused on financial sector. So they using the same idea of attack. So basically the attacker or the criminals, they paid for credentials to get inside of the environment. And the other thing is when they get inside of the environment of this victim, the company, so they can move laterally to get some, let's say, keys, secrets, and even certificate, because they need to authenticate between two different applications, to doing a kind of fraudulent process. So it's totally focused on that because, it's more, let's say, affordable way that criminals can, pay for that, because in the past they needed to pay for, the 0 day. Sometimes it's not, let's say, when they get inside of the environment, they should try to get more like, escalate privilege or trying to do those type of things. But once they was detected, it was complicated to get another different 0 day. So nowadays they just paid less than the past. They just pay for through credentials, as you said, and that they have the access to this privilege account, because sometimes for, let's say, just an example, like developer, they need to access, for example, VS Code, and VS Code requires the administration access. So if this user has the privileged access because of this application, let's say, for example, VS Code, or even the others, let's say SAP, for example, applications for the ATR team or for the financial team or whatever. So they require to use the administration access in this specific application. So that is the reason that because of the attackers are paying less for the let's say the employees to get some, insider threat the environment. So that's the things that I'm seeing for the previous attack. It's not about, 0 day or something like this. It's just about, I will pay for some access and then get inside. Because if let's say the blue team detect me, it's not me, the attacker. It will be the employee.
Absolutely. It's if you're under the disguise of an existing authenticated credential of an employee, it's
Yeah.
really hard to really understand about, is that employee actually, doing the work, and, hard to, be able to detect that it is an attacker, abusing those credentials. Sometimes you get into where if organizations are doing some more in-depth intelligence types of activities, such as monitoring the applications that employee uses at what times a day, and having additional security controls in place when there's some suspicious activities. Sometimes that puts a little bit of, challenges in front of the attackers, meaning that if they start using applications that employee doesn't use, or accessing at times a day that they don't typically access those applications, then you can challenge them with additional security controls. But unfortunately, many organizations, they don't have MFA everywhere on all devices and all kind of types of privilege elevations or application elevations. They tend to only have it, on the front door. And if the attackers are good at social engineering and phishing, they'll find ways to bypass it.
Is it interesting to mention that, because I was discussing with last week at the Put the Data First event. We were talking about the threat detections and this kind of things, and it's interesting because many. Is in parallel of this event. I was not in parallel, but 1 week before, I was participating in another event that we call Authenticate, which is focused on authentication process. So yes. I saw many companies selling this kind of YubiKey, let's say YubiKey passkey.
FIDO2 credentials is
yeah, exactly. It's for me, like, if you compare, like, okay, we have a system to access, and we're putting the MFA, as you mentioned it right now. And if you think about, like, let me try to the authentication process for more physical authentications, just to, injecting things. So it's, for me, it's something I'm feel sometimes like more old thing, like, do you remember when you talk about the malware in the past?
Yeah,
just putting yeah, exactly. So, like, okay, if you're trying to put in some malwares in some companies, just in putting the, let's say, the pen drive, you remember this kind of attack a few years ago, just in putting this pen drive in front of the company, putting that, and wait for someone that can pick up this up and putting the laptop. Okay, let me see what they can find in here. So it's a kind of technique old using by the attacker, but nowadays, like, based on the event, so I saw many companies selling this kind of authentication key. Like, sound interesting to see about, okay, we are looking to the AI process, identity AI, but on the other hand, we now having this kind of third factor of authentication using this. It's not third factor, actually. So you're using this for validate, but interesting.
It's an additional thing, something you additionally have, in the past, MFA has been traditionally kind of using it as an additional app on the phone. But this is an additional kind of, hardware token that you have to have that is FIDO2 credentials.
But you're thinking for the attacker perspective, for example, if I'm an attacker, just I'm supposing, so I just can buy whatever, let's say, pen drive I want. This is so small, like, okay, just this is actually is a kind of extension to using for charge things. It's not exactly a pen drive, but if it was more bigger than this one here, I just send into the, let's say, not agents, but the store, and printed whatever name I want, like, for example, Segura brand. I can put in this, like, this is Segura for access key.
Yeah, tons of bad USB. I got lots of, so, ever since
events,
the Wi-Fi, the events and everything. So ever since the Wi-Fi cactus and the bad USBs around, I've got so many of them.
And not only that, but I can using this, like, tell the people, this is a new way for using Segura for PAM solution, like, so you know what I mean? So, okay, this is a kind of feature for customer, not for enterprise company, just for personal user. Let's say you can use it like a personal vault to authenticate your own applications, or your LinkedIn, your Instagram, or Twitter, whatever, or X. And just putting the brand. So, like, I can distribute this in the different events, and I can using this as a malware, like, not new, but old, becoming a new attack vector.
It's we're adding an additional attack vector by bringing in that kind of reintroducing the old techniques. I have a question. One of the things that came up what I was doing in the last month, October, was Cybersecurity Awareness Month. There was lots of activities, lots of awareness training. Lots of organizations had lots of events. They really kind of re-educate their employees. And one of the hot topics that came up during the Cybersecurity Awareness Month was around the use of InfoStealer malware and also session cookie and token theft. Can you explain a little bit about kind of what you've seen around, where the initial attackers, they gain access to an employee's credentials, and then all of a sudden that employee is using a browser, to access lots of different applications, because everything's now based. Everything's cloud-based, and they're, accessing those applications. And then they'll do authentication, they'll do an authorization. And then in that browser, it stores either a clear text password, they've just saved it as a password in the browser. And most do not have security turned on. And then also they store a lot of the cookies, which stores the tokens and the sessions. And then simply the attacker either just jumps onto that session, copies the cookie and puts it in their own browser. What's been the trends around that? And I think, I've seen a lot of trends around organizations creating much more, let's say, secure browsers. Will make sure that the sessions are one-time use only, or they're locked, or you can't replicate or break into them. Has that been something you've seen in topic in the last couple of months?
Yeah, definitely, you were right. Mainly because of the attack vector, as you mentioned, about the social engineer. I think this is the more trending that I'm seeing in the events, and not only about the conversation with the people, but about talks. So because of the AI mainly, the attacker they are increasing the way that they can explore the companies using AI to, let's say, the reconnaissance step is more, they are increasing, let's say they improve. That's the good word, improvement. They are improving a lot the way that they can get in the curiosity of the employees. So that's the main training, let's say, that I can mention it with the audience, because in the end of the day, the way that attack using to collect anything is always the same, as you said. Using the social engineer to collecting cookies and to using these cookies to access the session and to motivate the user to clicking in the URLs or something like this to download the other things. Because of that, is super, super important if you are listening right now, is to have multi layers of protection in your organization. Even in the firewall or in the board of let's say the board of your company, or even if these applications in the cloud, as I mentioned, like the WAF, you have more than one layer to protect your identities, your company at all. So that's the key. But the main vector that attack can get inside is to using the social engineering strategy. So I'm seeing a lot of events, even for example, in BSides Port that will happen in the end of November. I received, I think, 4 or 5 talks focused on social engineer techniques, and mainly how the attackers are creating new things using AI, even for, text or video. So that's, I think, is the big, trend for this year. And I think they will increasing for the 2026 as well.
Absolutely. I've seen it heavily, targeting languages. I laughed I saw a comment by Ken Monroe recently on social media saying that if an email looks perfect from him, it's probably most likely social engineered. If it has grammar errors in it, it's most likely a human response. And I quite laughed at that because, let's say we go 1 year back and we talked about social engineering and Cybersecurity Awareness Month a year ago. And it's really for the audience, it's important. Cybersecurity Awareness Month is it should be a check, to go and assess your security. It's not that you just do security 1 month of the year. Every month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. October is just a time where you might reevaluate or kind of measure how you're doing. But if we kind of compare from last year to this year, it was quite interesting because last year you still look for errors, look for the mistakes and messages, and then this year, because of AI's involvement in social engineering and phishing, even in the Estonian language, which is really complex, and it used to take humans to do the malicious translations. Now it's automatically done with AI to perfection. They are so authentic looking that even professionals like myself, I will have to look 2 times or 3 times at an email to determine is something up here. Sometimes it's too good. Written by a human, most likely there would be mistakes in it, especially myself. I've got slight dyslexia as well, so I always change words and letters around, and so I would expect errors to be there. Now I have to train the AI model to also be dyslexic as well, which is always interesting in order to create the errors. But what are your thoughts around the trends of AI attacks against exploit identities and social engineering? Have you seen? What about talks around how to use AI to help us detect them as well? Both the defensive and offensive capabilities.
Actually, I'm seeing in many events. I was discussing last week as well in this event called Put It Data First. Just to put in the audience to just understand, this event was happened last week, yeah, in Las Vegas. And I was participating in many roundtables. We discussed many things related to the AI. So one of the topics was about, threat detections, and another one was about, zero trust, using an AI, threat detection using AI, identity access management using AI, and DevOps CI/CD pipeline using AI. So coming to your questions about, threat detections. So the thing that we discuss with different, leaders of the industry. So I'm saying for the defensive perspective, actually, the companies, they are trying, even for the enterprise perspective or the, let's say, the vendor's perspective, they trying to, let's say, collecting bunch of logs, let's say for SOC teams or CM, and they try to work in more in intelligence way and more proactively. This is and I'm seeing not only that, but if I remember 2 weeks ago, I was speaking at BSides, New York. And in this event specifically, I was talking with one company. They created this SOC, or let's say AI SOC. It's just to understand first, to learn more about how the attacker are, explore environments. They, teaching this AI to work more proactively, related to this specifically events that they received for the companies. They try to connecting with many vendors, for example, for the IDRs, XDRs, whatever, or, firewalls, IPS, IDSs, and, different layers of security. When you have or even cloud, for example, CloudTrail from AWS, for example, when you have kind of incidents that happened or they trying to, put in the relationship between those logs, and they try to teach the AI module to bring it to you, this kind of possibility, kind of attack. So this is the defensive perspective, the thing that I'm seeing in the event. On the other hand, for the offensive perspective, talking about the red teamers or penetration testers, the thing that I'm seeing is they are trying to manipulate the AI in terms of, okay, how I can, induce the AI to bring the correct answer or the wrong answer, how I can bypass the AI. This is the thing that I'm seeing in the events about trendings. Or the let's say, for the penetration testing perspective, the offensive security perspective, the people are trying to, integrate many, tools using AI to be more fast in the result.
Absolutely. So it seems a lot of the, both the defensive and offensive is around orchestration and SOAR. It's like, interoperability.
It is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. So
bring everything together, make sense of the information so we can make decisions and, change our tactics as quickly as possible. It's accelerating the campaigns to being almost to real-time attacks and real-time defense. I really enjoyed, it was a talk I watched, Elisa Knight, who's awesome. I always really enjoy watching her speak, and I've known her for many years. And I was watching her doing a keynote that was talking about, the trends. She talked heavily around API security, and that was one of the big topics around BOLA, around broken object layer authentication. And it was really interesting talk, and I think it's a really hot topic as well, because it's simply just another, let's say, version of a machine or non-human identity. It's there to run in the background. But it was really interesting because she made the reference about we're becoming almost like observers to both the defense and attacks. So we sit back and we can watch the AI defense and AI offense, basically attack each other, and we become observers or let's say adjusters in the policies or in the techniques in order to either improve or go faster. So it was a really interesting talk, and I thought that was very, very insightful. But absolutely, I think when we get into the AI side, the automation orchestration, it's impressive to see how fast that's moving to the point where it really is accelerating. And I think no organization can sit back and kind of just not be involved in it. And it reminds me back in the summer here in Estonia, there's a camp that's called Cyber Wizards Camp, which is a girls' camp that's based in. So if anyone out there and any of the audience has kids or daughters specifically, then Estonia has a Cyber Wizards Camp that runs in the beginning of August that you can send your daughter to, and they will learn all about cybersecurity, hacking, cracking passwords, defensive, and also one of the things was around compromising AI, jailbreaking it, getting it to reveal information. And it's really insightful because, we really need the next generation of talent in order to know how we defend against AI when it's not being secured and not being protected. And I think that's one of the things is that as organizations are starting to use AI for the defensive side, we have to really understand is that it becomes another attack vector as well. and you have to put the right security in place. So do you have any recommendations? Anyone is, in the process, of using AI to secure the organizations, what do you recommend they should be doing in order to secure AI so it doesn't get jailbroken, it doesn't get compromised? What's some of the best practices out there?
Actually, this is an interesting point because was like hot and fighting discussions, one of the events about what kind of data I can put in AI. Like this is one of our discussions about the AI for identity access management. So I was on a round table and I heard 3 or 4 guys talking. I don't put my identity access in the AI, like because it's the internal user is a privilege, is a group of rules, bunch of rules, role of groups, permissions. So that's interesting. But on the other hand, like if you need to implement in your identity access management, and if you buy a tool, so probably this tool using AI, but what kind of AI they are using? You know what I mean? So that's a kind of trick thing here
Can
in
you
this.
trust it? Can you trust it?
Yeah.
Do you know where it's been stored? Do you have
exactly.
legal rights? Because a big hot topic this year is data sovereignty and compliance, regulation. And if you're implementing and you don't have a proper risk assessment of the AI model, then it'll be a hard challenge to get, be compliant and also protect data sovereignty as well. I think that's a big topic that I've also seen on the top trends as well.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I can recommend to the audience, let's say, is you need to think about always about the zero trust, not about 2 or about the 3 Ps. I think this is the only way to improve your security posture, whatever tool you're using, because I'm talking about AI like a tool, because in the end of the day, the AI will be another tool to help you to improve your work, to working more fast. So if you put in whatever tool inside of your circle of environment, your silo, so like you need to have the zero trust culture or methodology implemented in your company in terms of, okay, you need to use in this 3P basis: process, people, and product. So you need to be established the, process first one. You need to is in terms of, compliance, regulations, whatever, and you need to communicate the user, the second pillar, and you can go to the third pillar, which is the tool, the product. In terms of AI, so what kind of information you can share with this product, you need to looking back and, okay, what is the process? What is the people? And okay, this product in terms of AI. So that's the 3 pillars, again, 3 Ps. So I think would be my recommendations for the audience, how we can use an AI in the right way. So like you need to think about zero trust because again, okay, you can think maybe, okay, I want to pay, for example, the ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever however you paid for, let's say, Microsoft for Teams, and they offer you the Copilot. So you put in your data in a Copilot. So like, okay, so the AI are inside of this another product, it's called Microsoft. So if you're using Gemini, so you put in the AI inside of another product, which is the Google. So like if you have the first pillar, which is process established, can work in, let's say, trying to work more correctly. In the end of the day, like we never have like 100% safe. So you need to think about
There's
that.
There's no perfect system. We just have to have what's our appetite? I always say, what's your appetite for risk? How much risk are you willing to accept and take on? And it reminds me actually of a talk recently I saw Chris Weisopel, who's a big advocate for secure by design, which is also from the big stances from CISA as well. And I think, secure by design is definitely something we should be always kind of advocating for. And it just brings back it, as you're talking about zero trust. I think when you're using AI and AI models, it should be zero trust by design as well.
Yeah.
It should be something we should be looking at. Let's not assume that all the security has been met. Let's do, zero trust by design, which means the principle of least privilege. It means that you're using just in time privileges so that agentic AI should not have persistent privilege. It would be one of the kind of biggest risks you could put in place. It's just like, giving a service account a default credential and never changing it. That's what you're facing if you don't put the right controls in place.
Yeah.
So let's bring it right back. One of the things I'd like to go back on is that I know you're organizing one of the first BSides Porto. So Can you tell us a bit about what's happening, when it is, if the audience kind of want to attend, if they're local in the area? Tell us a little bit about more what to expect at BSides Porto.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, will be the first edition in person at BSides Porto. So I become the organizer this year. So we had actually 2 editions virtually in the middle of pandemic, if I'm not wrong, was another organizer. So when I received the opportunity to organize this event this year, I was talk with Jack, and I decided to rebranding everything, as you can see my background here. So I created this logo, and I decided to create more Portugal identity, by the way. We're using the color, the bridge, which is in Porto, between Porto and Vila Nova de Gaia, which is another city, next to Porto. And when I mentioned that with the community, my idea was to create this event or to organize the event next year in 2026. However, when I announced it, so the community came to me and they said, Filipi, we need it. We need to do this year. So I said, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. And, in the end of the day, so I have very nice people around me. They helped me to organize this event. We created a website. We got amazing sponsors to support in the community, because again, this is very interesting to mention with the audience. So BSides is a no-profit initiative. Like, it's just the community created for the community, is by community to community. Actually, that's the culture behind our BSides. So we announced it actually last week, this weekend, basically the speakers. We have many people from the Europe, mainly in the US as well. We have people speaking locally, like we have, for example, Teresa, which is the leader of OASP Leiria, which is the city here in Portugal. And we have, for example, we have the speakers, which very known guy that works at Symantec is Kennedy West. If not, probably I can mention the name wrong, but it's Kennedy from Switzerland. And we have Teresa, we have Dimitrios, which is the guy from Microsoft. We have very nice talk about exploitation. We have a Sergey, which is the guy that lives here in Portugal. They were talking about AI, exploitation is AI. We have a Brazilian guy called Milton. He's the guy we were talking about red teamers techniques that they will bring at the very low level, let's say high technical presentations. We have another locally guy which calls Pedro from BitSide, which is a company very strong here in Portugal. We will have actually 3 workshops that happen in November 28. The event will be November 29 and 28 in the night. We have just 3 workshops. Yeah, 3 workshops. One of these workshops will be organizing by the André Batista, which is the very known guy in Portugal. The guy is known as a Cristiano Ronaldo of cyber here in Portugal. Very respectable guy here. I just announced the workshop in 2 hours, finished all possibilities to learn with the guy, because he's very known here in Portugal. And we have another 2 besides organizer that will, bring the workshop. One is Castro Pereira. The guy lives in Poland, but he came to BSides Porto. He's a BSides Krakow organizer. And the another one is, what is the name of the lady? Is Kate Fitzgerald. She is one of the BSides Chicago organizer. So I'm super happy, because the mix of speakers is in Portugal, the US, Poland, Switzerland, and about the attendees, we have attendees for Netherlands, France, UK. We will have actually 2 others organizing from UK and another lady from the US that came to our event. So like it's local event, but it's an international event because absolutely. Of the attendees. Go ahead. We have actually 2 different things for BSides Sport, just for the audience knows. Like, one is more entrepreneurial activities. It's very, the idea is to not only bring talks technically, but like how we can help in the community. And one, we will running the startup village, which is the village responsible for helping people and how they can create their own company, how they can, putting their company in the incubator. So we'll be the whole day doing activities with the one incubator that will be responsible for running this startup village. This is one of new that we bring it to the BSides Porto. And the second one is about a specific tier of sponsors. And we will have one company, which is the hiring space. So probably, Joey, you heard a lot of people come to you and ask you, okay, Joey, how I can get inside of cybersecurity, how I get a job. So this is another way that I can help in the community. I will bring companies inside of the event, participate in the event, putting the booth in the event. They can offer jobs for the community. So this is the other things.
That's one thing I've always recommended, for anyone who's looking to get into the security industry, that, the BSides is a great way to network and find opportunities. Because I always recommend, students and universities and interns who's kind of looking to expand, that the BSides is a good opportunity for them to go and talk to companies and talk to professionals and learn what's the best entryway. So I'll definitely make sure that in the show notes we'll have the link to the BSides Porto registration and more information and details. Filipi, it's always been awesome having you on. I really enjoy. We're definitely kind of getting an insights into what the BSides events is and what's there for the community. What's the latest trends in the identity threats and what you've been seeing at some of the events around, and also kind of what's your involvement in giving back to the community. A great event in BSides Porto, which is it's always great. One is we consume a lot, but when you contribute back, it definitely makes the world a safer place. So many thanks, and I applaud you for the hard work that you put into bringing and putting those events together, because they are hard.
Yeah,
it is challenging.
Yeah.
Anything you would like to leave the audience with? Stay connected. If they have questions, what's the best way to reach out for you?
They can find me on LinkedIn is Filipi Pires, Filipi Pires, or Pires, and the same name for Twitter. And they can find me as well on Instagram. I'm using a lot of my Instagram to helping the people in the community, which is philippipires.sec, and they can find me there. So all those my activities I put in these three main social medias, let's say. And if they are interesting to read the more information about Identity Threat Labs and the articles that have been published there, they can find in the labs.segura.blog. The all technical articles are there. And yes, thank you, Joey, for inviting me to talk again. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. You're my friend.
Absolutely.
It's like a talk with my friend in the table. So that's interesting. It's amazing. Thank you again.
At some point in time, we'll do this in person. We'll have,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Many thanks for joining me again. It's always a pleasure having you on, and absolutely looking forward when we can have a next catch up in person. So for the audience, hopefully this has been very educational and very informative for you. We're really bringing the amazing guests like Filipi to really educate you, share what's happening in the world, share how you can be involved as well. Maybe you're interested in starting up your own BSides event if there is none local to you.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, if Filipi would be able as a good person to go to and learn about.
That's interesting. Sorry for interrupting you. Like I would like to just talk with few people. Few people know about that, but I can announce here at the, let's say, the spoiler officially. And by the way, we didn't announce at LinkedIn or whatever social media, but I can talk to you and I can announce. So I have a friend of mine which called Emerson Wendy, which lives in Porto Alegre, south of Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul. By the way, my city. I'm from there. And so we organize next year BSides Porto Alegre. It's another BSide, which will happen in July, in the end of July in 2006. So we didn't announce, but we have a logo. We have the commitment with the BSides team. So we probably will announce in the next few weeks. But this is a spoiler for the podcast here.
Fantastic. So you heard it first here.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. So for everyone, you're getting the inside scoop of what's happening in the near future. So Filipi, again, many thanks. For the audience, stay safe, take care. Tune in every 2 weeks, for the Security by Default podcast. Really kind of bringing security, for everybody. So insights, knowledge, leadership, ideas, trends, and hot topics. Share with your friends, share with your colleagues, and let's make sure the world is a safer place. So everyone stay safe, take care, on until the next time. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of the Security by Default podcast, where the only thing we leave unpatched is our sense of humor. I've been your host, Joseph Carson, reminding you to update your software and rotate your passwords. Subscribe, share, and review the podcast. And please stay safe, stay weird, and we'll catch you next time.